I'm going to show you how to take a ham, cook it in the crock pot, and give you extra room in your oven for your holiday dishes. When I have my husband go to the store to pick out a ham, he is getting this one. This one's from Costco, and it's a Master Carve half ham. It is not spiral sliced. That way you can cut the ham any way you want. Large slices for sandwiches, which is his favorite. Diced ham for soups. That's how I like it. You can even put diced ham in your eggs. Let's take a look at the ham. That's not to say that you cannot use a spiral sliced ham for the crock pot. You certainly can. You want to make sure that your ham is narrow enough to fit into your crock pot. Now, if it's too big for your crock pot, you could just cut off the bottom portion of the ham and kind of just stick it in your crock pot. Now we're going to dive in here, take this wrapper off. This is a 4-pound ham. What we're going to do is just take a paring knife and we're going to score the ham. We're going to go 1/4 inch through the ham, the top of the ham, and go about 1 inch down. This will infuse some flavor into the ham. Now, once we get this scored all the way down, we're going to come back the other way and do a crisscross. So we're going to go this way and score through. There we go. I'm using my 6-quart crock pot. We're going to spray the inside of the crock pot with some nonstick cooking spray. Spread the oil around. We're going to place our ham into the bottom of the crock pot. Let's infuse some flavors into our ham. We're going to start with a layer of mustard. Whatever mustard you like. If you like Dijon mustard, yellow mustard, we're using this whole grain old style mustard, my husband's favorite mustard. And we're going to take about a good tablespoon. We're going to place it right on top of the ham. Take your brush and slather it on there. We're going to bring over some brown sugar. We're going to pour it on the ham. We're going to pack the brown sugar on. What we're going to do now, we've got to give it something to kind of steam with. And I grew up with Coke going into the ham. Now, when we pour the Coke in, we're going to go down the sides, not on top of the ham, because we don't want to wash off that brown sugar and mustard, okay? So let's do that. You don't need much for this. This is a 8 fluid ounce size bottle. All right, I had to go get my pineapple out of the pantry. These are sliced pineapples, and we're gonna put them on top of the ham. It should look like that right here. All right, we'll put one right there. Now, I'm gonna be drinking all of that juice in there, and we'll put one right there. I'm gonna take a little bit of the juice from this can. I'm just gonna go down the sides. There we go. We're going to take some maraschino cherries and we're going to put them right inside of the pineapple, and I'm going to secure them in there. That will help the pineapple, like this one's doing right here, sliding off. We got to hurry up and get some toothpicks here and some cherries. All right, just take your cherry, put it right in the center of the pineapple. We're going to take a toothpick, push it in, just like that. There we go. That looks good. I'll put one right in there. Here, right there. Yep. I'm pushing down the toothpicks a little bit more so that way the top of the crock pot will fit on there. We're going to place a lid on. We're going to cook it on low for 3 to 5 hours. You want an internal temperature of the inside of that ham to be about 140 degrees. If you want your ham faster, you could cut the time in half. Cook this on high. Nice. Let's make creamy mashed potatoes. We're going to be starting with 4 pounds of russet potatoes. I'm just going to take a regular carrot peeler, potato peeler, vegetable peeler. You want to hold your potato in the palm of your hand and then peel away from yourself. We're going to go all the way around the potato. They're a very starchy potato, which will really hold up to making a fluffy potato. Now, I'm going to place the potatoes into a large bowl that I filled about halfway up with water. Now, I've got my cutting board ready and a large pot. Now, I did rinse out the water and add some new water to it to kind of clean that up. So I'm going to take my potato out, take a large sharp knife. We're going to cut it in half lengthwise, lay them flat, cut them again in half lengthwise. We're going to turn them. And then we're just going to cut them again. These are 1-inch pieces. Set them off to the side. Now the smaller you cut your potato, the faster they'll cook. Once we get the potatoes cut up, we're going to add them to our large pot. All right, we're going to fill our pot with cold water about 1 to 2 inches above the potatoes. We're going to place it on our burner, and we're going to place it on a high heat. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. We want to be able to flavor the water, which will flavor the potatoes, because you don't want bland potatoes. We're going to bring the potatoes to a boil, and then we're going to lower the heat to a low and let these simmer for about 8 to 10 minutes. You want to be able to take a fork into the potato and break it apart really easily. I'm going to go in with a spider tool, pull the potatoes out. Look for the biggest one, stick the fork in and twist, and it just breaks apart. These are done. We're going to drain these and put them back in the pot. Now I've put them back on my burner and it's still on a low, and I'm just going to move the potatoes around. We want to dry the potatoes out and get all that excess moisture out of the potato. Should just take about 1 minute. I'm using a potato masher, or you can use a potato ricer. You can use a strainer and put your potatoes in and mash them through. That'll get them nice and creamy, but that takes a lot of time and effort. You can use like an electric hand mixer if you want to do that. I feel that they get kind of gummy and pasty, so it's not a good texture for mashed potatoes. I'm going to go in with this, and then as I'm doing that, I'm going to add in 1 stick of butter. Now I'm going to cut it into 8 pieces and just put it all in there and mash it all in there with it. Now the heat from the potatoes and the pot will help melt the butter. There we go. Okay, we've got a good mash on the potatoes right now. We need to get them nice and creamy. Some heavy whipping cream. We're going to add a little bit at a time and then blend that in. Oh, it's really starting to look creamy. Give it a taste. Now we need to season with some salt and pepper. Go in with half a teaspoon of salt, and then we'll go in with some black pepper, just a little bit, about 1/4 teaspoon or less. We'll mix that in. Okay, we're going to put some pats of butter on it. That'll look really good. Let's put a little bit of parsley, or you can use green onions or some chives. There we go. Homemade, creamy, fluffy mashed potatoes. Got a bunch of carrots. We're going to make a honey glazed carrot. Now I'm using these carrots. They're an organic carrot. They're sweeter. I love the size of them, and they're still nice and fresh. We're going to take off the ends. You can use any carrot that you want. You can use the bagged carrots. Grab the fastest peeler in your kitchen, and we're going to peel the carrots. We've got peeled the amount of carrots that we want. We're going to cook these whole, so we're not going to cut these into pieces or anything like that. So I'm just going to line these up, take off the ends. Here's my helper. We're going to place our carrots into a large, deep skillet. Now you can make as many carrots as you want. We're going to fill the pot with water about 1 inch above the carrots. That way there's enough water in there to boil the carrots. We're going to put this on a high heat. We're going to bring this to a boil, and then we're going to allow them to simmer until the carrots get to the desired tenderness that you like. Now, these are nice and tender. The fork goes all the way through. Turn off the burner for a minute. Drain the carrots. Okay, I've got my carrots over here. They've already been drained. I'm going to put on my skillet to a medium-low heat. I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of butter. We're going to start melting that. To that, we're going to add 1/3 cup of brown sugar. Now, I'm not packing the brown sugar. I'm just estimating. For the amount of carrots that I have, this should be plenty here. And then we're going to drizzle in Thomas's favorite honey. This is local from a farmer's market that we have here in town. I'm gonna drizzle in about 1/4 of a cup. I'm gonna estimate here. That looks good, look good. He'll have me pour all day long.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, we're gonna melt this all together until it's well combined and nice and smooth. Now the butter is salted butter, so I'm not gonna add any salt to this dish. All right, we're gonna start adding our carrots in. Get them nice and coated. Then we're gonna simmer this for just a few minutes. All right, we've got them nice and coated. We'll let them sit here for just a few minutes. The carrots are nice and glossy. We're gonna turn off the burner. And there are my honey glazed carrots. I got lots of asparagus today. Puff pastry. Now you want to thaw these out per the directions on the back of the package. Now these sheets come in 2. I'm only going to be using 1 for this recipe. This is an asparagus tart. We're going to lightly flour our work surface. Make sure it's nice and clean. We're going to lay it out. Take out the paper. We're going to take a rolling pin and we're going to roll this out. We want more of a rectangular shape, doubling the size of it. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of flour my rolling pin here. We're going to take this, kind of like you're doing a pie crust, and we're just going to kind of roll it onto itself. We're going to bring our sheet pan over with the parchment. We're going to lay it down and then roll it back out onto the parchment paper. I'm using a 10 by 15 pan. Now we're going to take a paring knife and we're going to go 1 inch border around the pastry here. We're going to score it. We're not going to go through the whole dough. You don't want to cut through. So you're just dragging your knife through. We're going to take a fork and we're going to press the fork into the dough, the center of the dough, not the outside border. And what this will do is keep the dough from puffing up in the center here, but the outside edge will puff up. I've got my oven preheated at 400 degrees. We're gonna go ahead and kind of par bake this for about 10 minutes. To prepare the asparagus, you wanna take one end, then take the other end, and then you wanna kind of break it until it snaps. Now this is the part you don't want, because it's kind of hard, and we're gonna keep this part right here. I'm gonna go rinse these, and then we're gonna take them over to our pot of boiling water. Now I've brought a large pot of water to a boil. Now if you put a lid on it, it comes to a boil faster. I'm going to season it with about ½ a tablespoon of salt. We'll just flavor the asparagus. Now I'm going to add in my asparagus, put a timer on for 2 minutes. It'll give it a nice color. Once the 2 minutes are up, I'm going to pull them out, put them back into the colander, run cold water over them to stop the cooking process. I put ice in there. That'll really help get it nice and cold once I run the water in there. And then by the time we do this, our puff pastry will be coming out of the oven. Got my puff pastry out of the oven. I'm going to take a spatula and just kind of push down the center there. That way we have a wall. Now the next ingredient we're going to add to this is called an onion jam. It smells so good. It gives you that nice onion flavor. We're going to be adding some shredded smoked Gruyere cheese. I think we're going to have enough cheese. We're going to place this all on the inside of our tart. Okay, I'm going to bring some of my asparagus over. I just laid them on a paper towel. Just drain them off a little bit so they're not so wet. Place them on. There's your tip. We're going to lay it like this right on the cheese. We're going to take the other one and we're going to place it opposite. And that's what we're going to do, going all the way down. We're going to be using some avocado oil, or you can even use olive oil. We're just going to drizzle it on top of the asparagus, just like that. We're going to take some cracked black pepper right across the top. I'm shaking it to get it really out there. Bring in some fresh Parmesan cheese, grated. We're going to sprinkle it on top. We're going to place this back in the oven. It's still heated at 400 degrees. We're going to bake this for another 10 minutes until the cheese is nice and golden and melted on there, and we have another golden layer on the edges of our tart. All right, there's the finished product. Doesn't that look good? Do I have 3 fun and easy appetizers that you can put together for Easter? We're going to start off using these bell peppers, and we're going to turn them into carrots. Washed my peppers and dried them off. Cut them lengthwise. We're going to cut off the stem very carefully. Go in, we're going to pop out the membrane and the seeds. All right, that's the perfect bite. Now I'm gonna take some Bousson cheese and I'm gonna stir that in with some sour cream, give it a taste and see if we wanna add anything else. It's a very soft cheese and this has got shallots and chives in it. Smells delicious. Take some sour cream, 2 to 3 tablespoons. I'm gonna do 3. Mix that in. We're gonna take half of the pepper, some of the mixture, smooth it into the pepper. Now make sure you leave your edges clean. We're going to use fresh dill. So you're just going to take a sprig of it. You're going to take your pepper, kind of poke it into the dip. You're going to lay it down on your board. I got an extra little board here that I'm going to serve it up on. Decorate your Easter table with these Easter egg chicks. You're going to need hard-boiled eggs. Now whatever process you like. I used my egg cooker here, this one right here. I'm going to peel my eggs and I'm going to bring y'all back. Okay, we're going to take the egg once we peel it, and you want to cut the small end of the egg, not the large end, kind of like a cap. Ooh. Now what we're going to do is take the yolks out of both ends of the egg and put it into a small bowl. We'll just set these aside. So we're not cutting it in half, more of a 2/3 and a 1/3 at the top. I'm going to finish the rest of them and bring you back. I'm just going to mash up the yolks, and then we're going to add in 1, 2, probably 3 tablespoons. A little drizzle of some yellow mustard, probably about half a teaspoon. There we go. We're going to crack in some salt and some black pepper. Blend this together. So we're going to take the bottom of the egg, which is our big end of the egg, and we're going to take the mixture, just fill it in. Now you want to give it a nice little roundness right here. That's for the face that we're going to build. There we go. Now we're going to lay these on a plate that has either some lettuce or some fresh parsley, just something that will hold the egg. And we'll just nestle them in. Now I just cut off a piece of the big end there, that way it'll sit better. We're using some whole black peppercorns for the eyeballs of our little chickadees. Peel half a carrot. We're just going to make a disc shape. We're going to cut it in half. We're going to cut it in half, and then we're going to cut those in half. And these are going to be the beaks. So let's go start putting those on our eggs. You're just going to push it into the yolk right underneath the peppercorns. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Now you can make as many of these as you want. Now you're going to take your tops, and we're going to place it right on top. Like they just broke out of the egg. Okay, what do y'all think? My Easter egg chicks. These are no-bake bird's nest cookies. Now you may have heard of these called haystacks. Let's talk about the chips. We're going to be starting off with 12 ounces. Now you can mix and match your chips whatever flavor you like. I'm going to be using milk chocolate and also these Reese's peanut butter chips. It'll give it a nice chocolate peanut butter flavor that we all like in our Easter treats, right? Those Reese's peanut butter cups. Now I'm just using a measuring tool here, and I've just got it to 6 ounces. Now I'm going to be placing these in a microwave safe bowl because we're going to melt these. And now I've got my milk chocolate chips. So you want to place this in the microwave for about 30 seconds. I'm going to pull it out, I'm going to stir it up, I'm going to place it back in the microwave in 15-second increments, stirring until we get a smooth consistency and all the chips are melted. Make sure you have a spatula ready. Oh, can y'all see how creamy that is? That's perfect. All right, now you can always do the double boiler method if you want to do that. We got one more thing to measure out, and that are chow mein noodles. Now you find these in your international section of your store in the Asian side of it. And I just found these at Kroger, which is just our regular grocery store. And again, I'm just going to use the dry side of my measure tool here and measure out 1 cup. Now I'm going to add that to the chocolate mixture, and then we're going to fold it in with our spatula. Make sure all of the little noodles are coated with that chocolate. And if you want to add a little bit more, because you feel like you have enough chocolate in there, you can do that. I'm probably going to add a few more ounces. All right, that looks really good. They're all nice and coated. All right, go ahead now and have a sheet pan ready. Now you can line it with some wax paper, which I did right here, or you can line it with some parchment paper, or you can use a silicone mat. You just want to make sure you're using something that is non-stick. Now I'm just going to go into the mixture right here with a cookie scoop. And now this is the smaller one, about 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go in, just grab some, and then what we're going to do is place it onto our wax paper. And then we're just going to use the back end of it, and we're just going to kind of form a little nest. Now you know these are bird's nests, so they're not going to be perfect because they're like twigs and stuff put together, so you don't want to make it look too perfect. So go in, just kind of grab enough to make a little nest and place it on your sheet pan. You can use a spoon, kind of help form it. And we'll do one right there. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice little bird's nest. Now we're going to fill those with some Cadbury mini eggs. Now I found these at Target, but again, I bet you can find these like at Walmart or your H-E-B or any store like that. All right, we got some fun colors here from the mini Cadbury eggs. So we're just going to place them in the nest before they solidify. Oh, yellow would be really good. So we'll just stick those in there like that. Maybe a blue egg, a red egg, orange egg. There we go. Fun! And just let them stick there so when they get solid, they'll be part of the cookie. All right, there's our bird nest. The hard part is waiting. We got to let these set up. Now there's several ways you can do that. You can just place them on your countertop and then let them set up that way. Or you can do it a fast version by just moving everything out of your freezer, popping these in there and letting them set up in there, or even the refrigerator will be faster. Okay, my bird's nest have set up. I put them on a pretty plate with some peeps. You got to make it look like Easter. You're going to need some cucumbers. Now I've got 2 large ones. First thing we're going to do is cut off the ends of our cucumber, and we're going to start peeling. We're going to start slicing these very thin. I have a bowl right here, and I've got some water in it, and plus I've put some salt into it. About a couple teaspoons, because we're going to soak the cucumbers. You want these as thin as possible. All right, we're going to let the cucumbers soak until we get everything else done. I'm going to be using a red onion. Now I just cut it in half, took the peel off. I'm going to cut it in half again. And what I want to do is just slice it really thin. We don't want big chunks of onion. So you'll want about 1/4 of an onion. I'm going to leave these in the nice strips here like that. We're going to add that to our cucumbers. Just going to go ahead and give that a stir to get that into that salty water. Okay, I've got some large radishes, and what I'm going to do is just cut off the end here, thinly slice them. If you have large radishes, you can do about 5 to 7 of them and slice them thin. If you have small ones, then you can go up to about 10 of them. Whatever you want in your salad. I'm going to add this to my cucumbers. Now you can cover this and put this in your refrigerator for about 1 hour to let the cucumbers, radishes, and onions soak in that nice salty water. And then we'll rinse them off. Or we can just let them soak right here until we get our dressing made. In a small bowl, I'm going to place my sour cream, half a cup, about 2 to 3 tablespoons of fresh chopped dill, 3 tablespoons of white vinegar, or you can use apple cider vinegar, 3 tablespoons of white granulated sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. We're going to combine this all together. I'm going to give it a taste. See if you need to add any extra seasoning. That's really good. Okay, I've drained my cucumbers, onions, and radishes and just put them back into the bowl. What I'm going to do is pour the dressing on top. We're just going to start tossing everything together until it's well combined. I want to make sure all the cucumbers, radishes, and onions are all nice and coated with this dressing. It's really nice when you can see that fresh dill in here. There you go. Creamy cucumber and radish salad. Make sure you give me a thumbs up on this one. Comment down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and that bell notification. That way you'll always know when treats like this one here are posted. I'll see y'all on the next episode.